We will now go to the race for U.S. Representative District 13. We are going to considerably thin the audience by asking the candidates who are here for that race to come to the stage. I will be introducing you alphabetically for your 4 minutes. And once again, for you candidates, the microphone I'd like for you to use is this one right here. You can take it off the stand or speak directly into it, however you're comfortable. And we'll begin. 4 minutes for each candidate. Again, Noxie Mathis will show you the sign. No one's going to bang on a trash can to give you secret signals or anything like that. U.S. Representatives race will begin first with candidate Katherine I Swear Carr.
Come up here and...
Well, actually, just use this mic.
Okay, my name is Katherine I Swear Carr, and I'm running for Congress because I deeply care about the people in the 13th Congressional District. My policies is Americans first, but I do believe that we should be compassionate people. I want to bring some of the money home that is being frivolously spent in other countries back to the 13th Congressional District so that we can fix our roads and the issues that we have in this town and actual community and the 186 zip codes that we have here. I have a counseling degree and educational general counseling degree. I have a master's in educational general counseling. I've worked with offenders. I've worked with juvenile children. I've taught children as well. I've made butter. I've made science games. I can work with parents, and I can work with the constituents. My father was a veteran, and so I'm the daughter of a veteran who almost lost his life in Vietnam, and he went 2 terms. We really needed my father because my mother was sick often, so I understand the issues about high drug cost and issues related to medical stuff. And I'm so thankful for the veterans, and I'm glad that my father is a veteran and that he's not somebody that lost his life for our country. And I deeply appreciate the wounded soldier has set us free, and I appreciate them so much and the life that they gave for this country, and I want to keep this country strong. I have worked for over 30 organizations, from disaster relief to Red Cross to pro-life to Salvation Army. We all got pneumonia. I made my kids bell ring as well, and after that, after we had pneumonia, I figured we better not. Bell ring for the Salvation Army in the cold, 25 degrees. So we stopped that. But I did do other work for them. And that was not related to my job. And I don't want to go to Congress for a second job or something like that. I want it to be my only job because I want to take care of the people in this district, and I want to be the best representative you have ever had. If I don't know something, I will go and find out about it. I will research it, and I will come to some conclusion that is in the interest of the American people and in the interest of the 13th Congressional District. I'm an inventor, so when I invent something, I do the research, and I talk to people, and then I come to conclusions. And that's the best way for a person to even make a bill. I have made bills. I did the surcharge issue when they were taxing the people, and the poor were suffering because their license were lost and all of that. And so I was very concerned about that. And the $10,000 that somebody owed over the surcharges, which was in addition to what they had paid and their fine as well. I believe that that was unconstitutional and not good for the 13th Congressional District, and I've already done enough for in that issue alone. I have done something for the 13th Congressional District, and I believe that that's enough to show you that I do care about you and that I would try my best to take care of you. Okay, and anyway, I would hope that you would consider me. I'm a really strong candidate, and I fight really hard, and I will do that if I get to Washington. And I'm really thankful, and I would appreciate your vote. And I also have a website, so you can find anything you want to know about me. I've been a farmer. I've raised strawberries, actually grew strawberries, and I've raised chickens and everything else. I think that I understand the community, and I want to do well for you. Thank you.
Okay. Katherine, I swear car. Thank you. Next up, we have Jason Fogelsong.
Excuse me. I'm Jason Fogelsong. I'm a high school teacher here in Amarillo, and there's all kinds of stuff I could tell you about me, and none of that's really that important. All these folks up here are fantastic, excellent candidates. We're all pro-gun, pro-life, conservative Republicans. So what sets me apart is that I really think that all of our representatives at various levels of government have lost sight of the fact that it's their job to represent you. Your tax dollars are going to pay our salary. So the campaign promise that I've made is that I will be available in our district in Amarillo, Wichita Falls, and all the small towns in between in the evenings and on the weekends where the voters can actually come and talk to me, tell me what you need, so I can take your voice to Washington and represent you properly. And if that means I need to sit at Dairy Queen and Groom on Saturday night at 7 p.m., that's fine. It's my job. So, policy-wise, I realize as a freshman congressman, it's going to be really hard to get a lot of things done because I won't have a lot of experience. But my plan is to make E-Verify mandatory. I want to start drug testing federal welfare recipients. I'm going to help Trump build the wall, but I want to have that wall patrolled and secured. We need to make sure it's maintained, repaired when necessary, watched, repel the incursions, and that could, create some new opportunities for Americans to innovate there. Also, if you think about it, climbing over that wall and getting hung up, if we're not patrolling it, they're going to die in the desert. That's inhumane, and we don't like that in the United States. So the whole point of this is to kick the illegals out of our jobs and off of our programs, stop the benefits fraud, stop the voter fraud, preserve our republic, preserve our opportunities and our programs for Americans first, so then we can start cutting spending on those programs without asking you to tighten your belts. And there's lots more I could tell you about cutting. And I agree with Mr. Yancey, the Department of Education needs to go, and I say that as a public school teacher. The federal government has no business being involved in education. The state of Texas provides everything I need in my classroom. And honestly, if you consult the 10th Amendment, the Department of Education shouldn't exist, and there's a whole long list of other government agencies and programs that also shouldn't exist. We need to cut those so we can stop taxing you and send your money back home to you where it belongs, because it's yours. Pardon me for a second. And then lastly, before I shut up and get off this stage, I have an idea to preserve Social Security. If you remember last year, we voted to protect money that was allocated to Texas Parks and Wildlife and make sure it's only spent in those programs. One of my priorities when I write legislation in Congress will be to create that type of bill for your Social Security to make sure that money collected from Social Security taxes is kept in that program, spent only in that program, and require companies and entities and organizations going all the way back to LBJ that have borrowed from it to make a plan to return that money within the next 10 years. Because that's your money, not theirs, and an IOU that was never returned is theft, not lending. There's no goodwill, no good faith there, not in my opinion. So my name is Jason Fogelsong. I really hope you'll vote for me. I voted for myself today. If you'd like to know more, I've got some cards out in the lobby. My website is fogelsong2020.com. Please put a regular guy like me to work for you. Thank you.
Jason Fogelsong, thank you. Next up, we have Lee Harvey.
If I get one of these, I want to do karaoke. I am Lee Harvey. I am from Wichita County. I live in a small town north of Wichita Falls called Burke Burnett. I attend the First Baptist Church there, part of the men's ministry. I am a master mason. I am in my second term as a county commissioner there in Wichita County. I serve the people of my area, and I've been doing that for a long time. I sit on the board of directors for the Senior Citizen Center there, and we had our funding cut. And people said, Lee, you got to tell them how dedicated you are to them. When our funding got cut, my wife made me do something about it. And so I founded and chaired the Wichita County Charity Dove Hunt. And in one day, we raised $180,000 for our Meals on Wheels program and saved the day. As a board member, I was looking at which senior citizens I was going to tell, I'm sorry, we can't feed you anymore. and we can't do wellness checks on you anymore because we don't have any money. So not only did we have not to do that, we were able to actually take on some more clients. So that was a good success story. My charity cooking team, we just 2 weeks ago, we did Tim Tebow's Night to Shine. We fed 600 special needs children, and I'm telling you, it's probably one of the best events that we do every year. So I tell you all this mainly because I've been doing this for years. It's not nothing new. I'm not campaigning. I really, makes my heart feel really good to help people. The people in my area know me as a businessman and as a county commissioner and as a Christian. Whenever they have a problem, they come to me and I help them. I don't really like the term the godfather of Burke Burnett, but for some reason I got that. Our district judge wants to kiss my ring about once a week. And it's just a lot. We're just having fun, but it's a good thing. And the people in my district really kind of prodded me to run for Congress. They know that I'm somebody that they can count on, somebody they can trust, and somebody they can talk to. When I got elected as commissioner, I put my cell phone on my business card, on the website. I don't believe that if you vote and send a guy to Washington, that he's untouchable. You need to be able to talk to that guy. You need to tell him what you think. My phone is in my pocket. If I can't answer it, I'll call you back. I spend every day calling everybody back every day because I'm a servant. And if I don't talk to you, I don't know what you need. So there's a lot of good people up here. I'm not from Amarillo, and I know it's hard for somebody from Amarillo to support a guy from Wichita County. But I want to be just like Mac was as far as the connection with the counties. I was up here talking in Amarillo, and one of the guys said, you know, he talks about Mac like Mac is his guy. Mac's our guy. Well, Mac was very good about being all of our guy and representing all of us. We felt when Mac was in Wichita Falls, we felt Mac was at home. And I'm sure that when Mac was in Amarillo, you felt he was at home too. So I intend to represent all the district, from Dallam County all the way to Cook County and every little town in between. If you would like to know more about me, go to my websites or my Facebook, Lee Harvey for Congress, and just do a little due diligence. There's 15 candidates this year, so take your time and pick a good one. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee Harvey. Next up, we have Elaine Hayes.
Good evening. I'm Elaine Hayes. I have been in Amarillo since 1985. I grew up in Wise County. Bridgeport, Texas is where I graduated from high school, but I married an Amarillo boy, and he imported me up here, and I have been here ever since. We raised our 4 children here, and now we have 4 grandchildren. Luckily, 2 of them are here in town. The other 2 are way South Texas, 9 hours away, and so it is always a challenge, but we make every effort to try and get down and see them as frequently as possible. I wake up every morning thankful that Hillary Clinton is not our president. And I truly feel that it is by God's grace and mercy that President Trump was elected. The polls never showed his ability to win that race. The level of success that he has had in the last 3 years with very little assistance from any circles in Washington, some we would not expect to help, but I think even sometimes from our own party, I have been disappointed at the lack of support and to yet see the successes. Watching the State of the Union just a few weeks ago was just such a proud moment, hearing the list of all the accomplishments. One of the first, for me personally, as a voter, when he moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing that as the capital of Israel, he got my attention. And I thought, he means what he's saying. We had been hearing promises from Republicans and Democrats for years. It was a position our country had taken, but nobody had the guts to do it. And he took a stand. He took a stand to get us out of the Iran nuclear deal, out of the Paris Climate Accord, deregulation, repatriating so many dollars in manufacturing jobs that other people said there's no way this will happen. Policy matters. Having a business person in the White House has made a difference in our country and in our economy. It is one of the key reasons that I am running. As a certified financial planner with a background in finance and economics, it is frustrating to watch policy be written from Washington and recognize that nobody is at the table that has an understanding of how those policies are going to impact us as individual businesses and families. There are two key things that are a big priority to me that I see the president moving forward. One is related to our national debt. If we look at even just 5 years ago, our debt was at $17 trillion, and now we are over $23 trillion. The Treasury Department now has a blank check from Congress. No more debt ceiling increase discussions and arguments and debates year after year. It is basically just cover whatever Congress sends them, and it is just escalating at a pace that is unsustainable. The president has stated previously that in the 5th year of his presidency, he is going to make that a priority. Based upon the budget he presented last week, he means it. We saw finally a budget that has $4.4 trillion in spending cuts over the next 10 years. My second big priority is my position and activity in the pro-life movement for decades. We saw through one nomination to the Supreme Court with Judge Kavanaugh's nomination, if we think that was a challenge and difficult, the next appointment will be even more difficult. It is important to have pro-life voices that are going to stand behind that next appointment and see legislation to protect the unborn move through Congress. I'm Elaine Hayes, and I'm here tonight asking for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine Hayes. Now we introduce Richard Herman.
My name is Rich Herman. I know most of y'all. I appreciate y'all having me here tonight. If you're a veteran or law enforcement, please stand up so we can recognize you real quick. Come on. I know I got a few out here. Got a couple up here on the stage. All right. That's what I've spent most of my life taking care of, either in active duty military or after I got out of the military. I've worked real hard with the veterans of foreign wars. Most people know that about me. I donate a lot of time. I go all over the area. I've been up in Perryton in the middle of the night picking up a young man trying to commit suicide. I've done all kinds of stuff for veterans. I'm loving our pavilion right here locally with the special area they've set up for our veterans and our law enforcement and first responder. That's something pretty cool. I don't know if y'all know about that, but it's pretty cool. Okay. Who am I? Right here from Amarillo, Texas. Did military service, come back home, tried to be in a JP. I wasn't that good at it, let's be honest, okay? Just like everybody else, I've had issues. I was messed up on 9 different medications from the VA hospital for a while. It can happen in a hurry. They can get you messed up. And the reason I want to serve is because I'm passionate about people. Anybody that knows me knows that. I'm probably way overqualified to be a congressman. I mean, seems like everybody we got up there is either something to do with money, something to do with lobbying, or something to do with greed. There's something going on. Everyone up there is in there for something. I don't want to be a congressman. We've had congressmen, and I want to be something better than that. I want to be a representative for each and every one of y'all. I want to go over there because I'm passionate. Now, I'm going to ask you a quick question right here. How many of you, when you were growing up, had your parents or somebody in your family tell you you could achieve anything you wanted if you just worked hard enough? Anybody ever heard that? Okay. That's the American dream, right? There's no guarantee. Nobody guaranteed us happiness. They guaranteed us the right to pursue happiness, okay? They didn't guarantee us anything. And the reason I brought all this up is because I'm very passionate about our kids and our elderly. And one of the main things I want to go over there and work on is the immigration reform. And the reason I say this, I'll give you some numbers real quick. 63% of every dollar that goes into any welfare program goes into 63 cents on the dollar goes to immigrants, okay? our families and everything, they're getting the lowest amount. Our kids are getting the lowest amount of college assistance when compared to immigration. Our parents are getting the lowest portion of the Medicaid when compared to immigrants. So that is a big, big chunk. And I really want to go over there and fix that because I want to give our kids the opportunities that we had growing up. I want to make sure our elderly are taken care of. We've got to look at the medical issues and everything. I've got a whole plan. You can't tell it in 4 minutes. Everybody knows that. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, I'll tell you how to solve the medical problems. I'll tell you how to solve the $22.8 trillion national deficit. I'll tell you how to do all that. But truthfully, I'm not going over there to be a freshman. Anybody that knows me knows I'm going over to kick doors and take names because that's how I roll. I'm not scared of nobody. I will kick your door in, and you will listen to me. My name's Rich Herman. I need your vote. I appreciate your vote. I'm not going to stand up here and beg. Just go tomorrow and vote. Oh, and I'm going to try to go to every county and see if I can vote and get away with it. You think? Well, he said he voted today for himself. I figure I'll try 40-something times.
Thank you, Richard Herman. Next, we introduce Ronnie Jackson.
Thank y'all. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you to the Amarillo Republican Women for having us here. My name is Ronnie Jackson. I am a conservative Christian. I'm a small-town Texas boy. I'm a retired Navy Rear Admiral. I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I'm a father and a husband. And I'll just tell you, I just mentioned I'm a father and a husband. My wife is not here tonight. She wanted to be here, but she's at the Hope Choice Banquet tonight. But we've been married for 27 years, and I have 3 children. I have a 17-year-old son who is finishing high school and aspires to be a Navy fighter pilot. I have a 23-year-old son who went to the Naval Academy and finished about a year and a half ago, and he's now an officer with SEAL Team 3, and he's leading a SEAL platoon in the Middle East right now as we speak. I have a 24-year-old daughter who got her MBA and works for the National Security Agency right now. So those are my kids. I was, like I told you, I was a small-town Texas boy. I was born and raised in Loveland, Texas. I lived there for my entire life until I moved away to go to the military 25 years ago, and I joined the military on active duty. Since that time, I've lived all over the planet. I've lived in Italy and Germany and, all over the United States, and I've been stationed in Iraq and Afghanistan as the officer in charge of a combat surgical team. So I've done a lot of great and interesting things in my career in the Navy. I spent the last 3 years of my career in the Navy as the senior advisor for President Trump and as his personal physician. And I just left that. I just retired from the Navy on December the 1st, about 2.5 months ago. And I just left the White House about 2.5 months ago. And I'll tell you real quickly, what I think, like is mentioned up here before, there's 15 folks up here running for this office, so we all pretty much have to do a pretty good job of telling you, what makes us unique. And everybody up here, a lot of good folks, everybody wants to do the same thing I want to do. They want to serve their community. They want to serve their country. I respect, all the folks up here and their motives. But like I said, we have to tell you what we bring to the fight that's unique. And I'll tell you what I bring to the fight that's unique is, I tell folks that, Congressman Thornberry's been in office for 26 years now, and he's got a lot of influence. He's got a lot of authority, right? He's got a big voice. When he speaks, people listen. When he's got a problem with the district, they want to figure out how to help him fix it, right? Well, the day he leaves, which is coming up soon, that's zero. It's right here. It's gone. And the district's going to have a freshman congressman or congresswoman. They're not going to have any influence for a while. That's just the way it works in D.C. It's going to be a good 6 to 8 years before they develop enough time on station, enough time in the job, that they develop a voice where they can independently advocate for this district and solve problems that are specific to this district. I stand before you as the exception to that. And it's not because of me. It's not because of Ronnie Jackson. It's circumstance. Like I said, I just came from the White House. I worked side by side with President Trump every day for the last 3 years, and I have relationships. I know all the cabinet secretaries. I know them all by name. Whether it's agriculture or commerce or defense or the VA, they're all friends of mine. I can pick the phone up. I can call them. I have their home phone numbers, their cell phone number. They're going to get together with me, and when there's a problem, they're going to help me fix it. I know everybody in the West Wing, Chief of Staff, National Security Advisor, Domestic Policy Council, all friends of mine. If I'm blessed enough to represent you guys as your congressman, as your representative, I will be the only freshman congressman that can walk into the Oval Office unannounced and tell the President of the United States, I need him to stop what he's doing. I have an issue I need to speak to him about, and he'll stop what he's doing and listen to me. So I'm just going to close with that. I'll tell you the reason I'm running is because I'm deeply concerned about where our country's going right now with the horrible things that are being, the rhetoric that's being created on the left. And I think it's time for those of us who can do something about it to get in the fight and do something about it, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie Jackson. Next, we introduce Diane Knowlton.
Hi, I'm Diane Knowlton. I'm here from Henrietta. That's where I live, and I practice law there. I have about 25 years experience in business and business law. So one reason I'm running is that I want to bring more of a business approach to how we manage our country. I started out as a CPA. I was doing financial audits and working on cost accounting for government contractors. I went to law school, practiced corporate law for a few years, and now, as I said, I'm practicing law in Henrietta, down by Wichita Falls. I also spent about 5 years in Washington, not on Capitol Hill. I don't consider myself an insider, but what I was doing is working as a consultant to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, trying to help them get their administrative procedures more efficient, to just make everything run more smoothly so that they could get more important work done and we could save the taxpayers money. So one thing I want to do is try to reduce spending all across the government by requiring the agencies to do that kind of process improvement. I want to pass legislation in Congress that requires them to look at their administrative procedures because, you know, even if there's good spending going on, say, for border protection, there's a lot of underlying administrative activities such as the accounting or the record keeping or even the Freedom of Information Act that can really be made more efficient so there's less bureaucracy. So I want to require the agencies to do that. I also want to continue with a lot of the good work that the Trump administration has done. Our economy has improved, border security has improved. We've done a good job of defeating ISIS, but there are new threats overseas all the time, as we've seen in the past few weeks. So we really need to continue working on those accomplishments and goals of the Trump administration. Another reason I'm running is I'm very concerned with some of the things we've seen discussed in our country over the past few years. We have some people, for example, basically just speaking out against our constitutional rights. For example, our First Amendment rights to freedom of speech or freedom of religion. We have people in this country who are saying that freedom of speech does not include offensive speech, for example. And that's not correct. We need to fight for those rights. We also need to fight for our Second Amendment rights. We've had regulation after regulation, and it's becoming too much of a slippery slope there until we've actually heard some Democrats use the words confiscation or mandatory buybacks of guns. So we're really going to have to fight for the next few years for those constitutional rights. We're also going to have to fight against the socialist agenda that we're seeing from some Democrats. I'm sure you've watched some of the Democratic presidential primary debates, and some of the proposals are getting more and more extreme. And I fully expect President Trump to be reelected, but we're going to see those same proposals, I think, coming from Democrats in Congress. So we're really going to have to fight for that over the next few years. I have a little bit of time left, so I will just say, despite all those things that we need to fight for, I think we really need to come together as Americans, find things that unite us. Our country's been very divided, so I think that's something that's very important to me as well that we'll need to work on. So I'm Diane Knowlton from Henrietta, and thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Diane Knowlton. Now we ask Matt McArthur to take the microphone.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. at having all of us. In fact, it's always nice to be able to come out and speak to voters about what's on our mind. My name is Matt McArthur. I come to you all from Spur, Texas. Since literally everybody who's talked to me tonight has asked me where it is, for those of you who haven't spoke to me, it's in the southern end of the district. I'm about equidistant from Amarillo and Wichita Falls. Most of my background in education comes in law enforcement. I went to Sam Houston for a criminal justice degree. I went to the police academy. I worked as a peace officer for several years. After that, I decided to go into the oil field. And since everybody that's talked to me tonight has asked me why, it's because it pays a lot better and I like a lot of money. Anyway, the point is, I have experience in both. I'm the only person on the stage who's ever enforced a law at the street level. We tend to think of lawyers as the best people to actually write up law, but when you've actually had to be on the streets, you start figuring out real quick which one of them look good on paper and which ones aren't. That's something I can bring to the table, and it's something I can also tie into immigration. As a police officer, I've actually had to interdict illegal immigration. And if you can, my usual line is I've chased a lot of illegal immigrants, but then I started realizing I don't look like it. Believe it or not, when I was younger and skinnier, I actually caught a few. Anyway, what I bring to the table, and the reason I decided to run, for those of y'all who have my card, know a little bit about my agenda, I decided to run because this district needs to focus very seriously on infrastructure. Roads, bridges, broadband, hospitals, schools, especially in these rural counties, they need help with that really badly. And the federal government has funds to help them out. President Trump has put out a very ambitious plan for infrastructure, and I want to get there and fight hard to bring some of those dollars back here. I also want to spend some time looking at our education system. We encourage every kid to go to college and get a 4-year degree. Not every kid needs to, and more importantly, not every kid wants to. Coming out of the oil field construction industry, I can tell you there are a lot of 6-figure jobs sitting out there for people that don't have an English lit degree. I see some heads nodding if you've worked a few. We need truck drivers, plumbers, pipe fitters, electricians. I go down the list. We're bringing in welders and diesel mechanics from other countries and paying them 6 figures. I want to shift some of our college education spending to encourage our students to take those 6-figure jobs. Nothing annoys me more than to send somebody to college for a degree they can't market, and then we bring in somebody from Germany, Mexico, or the Philippines and give them a 6-figure salary. I think our kids deserve those opportunities, and it's something I want to fight for. But I think it's going to take a congressman going up there that's not afraid to buck with the system, because for whatever reason, we tend to make fun of people in blue-collar positions, and that's unfortunate, because over the next 10, 20 years, you're going to see a whole lot of people, the ones making the real money, are working with their hands. Anyway, I kind of see a little time lady twitching with her thing, so I'm probably running low. Here's the thing, I guess I'll close up with this. I have a website, Matt McArthur for Congress. I have a Facebook page. I'm not hard to find. I even have a YouTube channel if you really want to hear me babble about the issues at length. Now, they're not really high-quality videos. Don't expect explosions or anything. My niece did them on her iPhone. But it gives me a chance to go into detail a little bit, and I think that's very important. 4 minutes is never enough. Anyway, being a police officer and coming from the oil fields, if you know people in either industry, you know that we're very straightforward, or as some people put it, blunt. I'm going to be the guy that goes to Congress and stands up for you guys. I'm not going to stay there forever because I really don't want to. But I will go up there. I will advocate for the people in this room and the people in this district, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to get the people in this room what they need and deserve from the federal government. Anyway, thank you for your time. My name is Matt McArthur, and I very much appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Matt McArthur. And Noxie, I will say that you twitch with finesse, so you do it well. I'm following your lead. Next, we have Vance Schneider II.
Good evening. My name is Vance Schneider. I grew up just an hour north of here up in Dumas, Texas. Some people call it something else that aren't from around here. So I grew up there, graduated high school there in 2007, and after high school immediately left to go to the military. Served as a Cap Scout, did 5.5 years in the military, the U.S. Army. Did 2 tours overseas, did 1 to Kuwait, and did 1 to Afghanistan. My tour to Afghanistan, my unit to this date is the highest decorated unit in the entire Afghanistan war. So we actually were actually out there in the bush and doing things when we was there. After the military, I immediately moved back home. This was my home of record while I was in. I moved back home, and I started working for a short line railroad up there called Texas Northwestern Railway. And I quickly moved my way up into management, and I was almost there for almost about 2 years. I left there to go work for BNSF Railway. I'm currently a railroad conductor here at BNSF Railway here in Amarillo. I've been doing that for 5 years last month. People ask me other things I've been doing. Currently I have a wife and 2 children. My wife is currently a air traffic controller here at the airport here in Amarillo. She's been doing it for over 2 years. And then she had a break in service, and she was an air traffic controller when we first met up in Michigan. So we have 2 children. We have a son. He's 2.5 years old. His name is Linus. And we have a 7-month-old. She just turned 7 months yesterday, and her name is Lucy. So we got the Peanuts crew going on. Yeah. So anyways, my wife and I she's an old soul. I love her to death. She's my rock. I wouldn't be able to do this without her. She couldn't be here tonight because she wasn't feeling well. She was under the weather. People ask me why I chose to run for this position, and that reason is I got tired of the same people who have been politically connected for years continuing to run for these positions, people who have been groomed for them, people who have worked in the government, people who have worked in D.C., and I feel like we needed somebody to grow up and step up and represent us in the district. As of probably about a month and a half ago, it took me a month. It took me 30 days and 9,000 miles to travel to all 41 counties in the district. And this time, as of right now, I haven't been able to campaign over the weekend and go around the different counties, but I've been to 25 of the 41 counties, my second go around. Hopefully I'll hit the other 15 counties into this week. I put 18,000 miles in my truck and a new set of tires. It's all about going out and listening to every single person that's out there. I believe every voice should be heard. There's counties that people haven't been heard in a long time. We have the second least populated county in the state of Texas in our district, in King County, with about, I think it's 260, 280 people. They have more cattle than they do people down there. That's where 4-6's ranch is at. So it's going out and listening to all these different things. Things that, I'm working class. I grew up blue collar. My dad owned an Napa auto parts store. I grew up collecting my first paycheck when I was 13, sweeping and mopping floors and cleaning bathrooms. By age 15, I was buying my own clothes for school. 4-pack of Hanes t-shirts from the Walmart and 2 pairs of jeans, 2 pairs of Wrangler jeans. I have a minute left. There's a lot of things I really want to do within the working class. And I'll hit up on those really quick. Those are 3 things. First thing is eliminate all income tax and overtime, because you don't see that after you get your paycheck, and whenever you come down to the income tax, you might see it, but you're really working for the government for free. Second thing, I want to eliminate all income tax and Social Security, because currently in Social Security, it's not uncommon for you to retire several retirements and go over that threshold. So if you eliminate all income on Social Security, all income tax on Social Security, it's going to put more money in your pocket whenever you get ready to retire and start collecting those over retirements. There's many other things I really want to talk about. I kind of talked about myself a bit too much instead of not the actions I want to take. Feel free to speak with me afterwards, and I'll answer any questions that you might have. Thank you very much for having me this evening.
Thank you, Vance Schneider II. And now we have Josh Winegarner.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to the Amarillo Republican Women for putting on this event. And thank you to the church for hosting us. I very much appreciate that. It's great that we can have a political forum in a church in this country. And it's wonderful that we do live in this country. My name is Josh Winegarner. I grew up in Spearman, Texas, born and raised. My dad was a John Deere dealer. My mom was a school nurse. I grew up doing every odd job you can think of. I was a hired hand. I patched potholes for the county during the summer. I was the night janitor at the hospital and the nursing home. So I've done a lot of work, and that taught me when I was a kid, that taught me how to work hard, and it also taught me how to listen to the concerns I was hearing, whether it was at the nursing home or whether it was at the John Deere dealership when I was visiting with my dad, having a cup of coffee with all the farmers around. After I left Spearman, I went to McMurray University in Abilene, Texas, graduated from there, did a year at graduate school at Hardin-Simmons, and I figured out real soon that I didn't need a PhD, I needed a JOB. So I had a great opportunity to move to Washington and work for Senator Phil Gramm. I didn't know anybody up there. I had 2 suitcases I packed in Spearman, drove over here, jumped on an airplane, and took the job. And I started out answering the phones, reading constituent mail, and that taught me a lot about what the people in this area really think, really across the state. You had very few people that were actually writing saying, I want the government to give me something. It was more, you had people writing saying, I want the government to get off my back. I need you to get the government out of my business so that I can run my business and I can raise my family. And that's important. And that's one of the things that I really want to work on when we get up to D.C. is how we can push back on a number of these regulatory schemes that are out there that are really hurting our country and our economy, especially in this district. After Senator Graham retired, I worked for Senator Cornyn for 4 years, continued to do the constituent communications, and then transitioned over to public policy and worked on agriculture, small business, and trade issues. And that's when I met a lot of the farmers and ranchers and small business owners in this district, and really got to know the issues that they were struggling with. And again, it goes back to that same regulatory scheme that we have out there, where I think the government is actually disincentivizing people to go out and start a new job, being able to start a new career, young people being able to move back to the communities they grew up in to raise their families like they were raised. That's something that my wife and I were able to do. We moved back here in 2006. I was lucky enough to get a job with the Texas Cattle Feeders Association. And I've been representing them for the last 14 years in both Washington and Austin, making sure that people there know what's important here, making sure that they know why cattle feeding is important to this economy, why farming is important to this economy, how they know what actions they're taking and what effect it has on us. That's something that I want to continue to do for the entire district. My wife and I are raising 2 kids in southern Randall County, and we want to make sure that they have the same core values and the same opportunities we had. And in order to do that, we have to continue pushing back on these environmental regulations and the regulations like Dodd-Frank that are creating, a disincentive for people that really want to do something and have that entrepreneurial spirit that we know is alive here today. So I want to end by saying I want to be your voice and your vote in Washington, and also your advocate, and make sure that you have somebody there to represent you against the federal government and the different agencies. Also want to tell you that we have great opportunities in this district. We just have to continue to fight for them. So I appreciate your time. I'm a pro-life, pro-Second Amendment person, and I want to continue to fight for those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh Winegarner. Well, as those of you in the audience know, I'm sure there are 15 candidates on the ballot for the Republican nomination for the 13th District U.S. Representative seat. You've heard from 10 of them. Do we have anyone here in attendance tonight who came here on behalf of one of the 5 who is not here themselves? Okay. So, there you are, the candidates for the 13th District. Thank you all.